Hi, I'm Gabriella Pizzolo. I play Susie on Stranger Things, and you're watching Pop Culture with Pat. Yeah.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. I'm so excited to be joined by today's guests. Today I'm talking to Gabriella Pizzolo, who plays Susie, aka Susie Pooh in Stranger Things. Gabriella, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. I love the intro straight with Susie Poo. You've
Oh
got to have
yeah.
Susie and Susie Poo.
Yep, yeah, you got to have both in there for sure. Super excited to talk to you as we were talking about before jumping on here, just about the show Stranger Things. If you can't tell, my favorite series of all time. So both excited for this final season, but also a little bittersweet with it finally wrapping up after being in our lives for almost 10 years now, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is wild. It is wild to remember when the show first came out. I had been a fan of the show too, and I had been watching it just to support all of my friends that I had made in acting. All of those kids were all such close friends of mine from growing up, and they were all so little. And now looking back, I felt like we were so old then. And when we look at it now, we're like, we were so young.
Yeah. Oh
Every
yeah, one of the first people that I met from the cast was Noah, and I think I met him. It was like shortly right after the first season came out. So when I met him, he was still a little guy, and
Wow.
so I have like a picture with him, like me kneeling over, like standing next to him. And then the next time I saw him was like several years later. It was at Rhode Island Comic Con, and much taller then. So it's been crazy to
Oh,
see everyone kind of grow up on the show.
well, that's what I love. I love that just throughout the entire process, yeah, I feel like a lot of young performers sometimes are so put on a pedestal where they feel like they can't change ever,
Yeah.
especially when they're young. But having a show that totally makes change the theme for the kids already makes it so great to see how that plays out for the characters and for the kids too
Yeah,
themselves.
exactly. And so you play Susie in the series. When your character was introduced, it was probably one of the biggest introductions for a character on the show. Instantly became a fan favorite. Can you just talk about what that kind of means to know not only did your character have that huge impact when she was first introduced, but continues to have an impact on the fans today?
I I can't say anything other than I love it. I love that it became what it did. And I had a feeling once I got there that it would. But if I were just reading the scene, I wouldn't necessarily think, oh my gosh, this is going to be like a total moment where they edit music. They have it. It really was written out just like a few verses of kids like singing to each other. And I think what made it really exciting is once I got there and I was with Gaten, who plays Dustin. Um, he was like, so like there's two ways we could kind of do this. Like, do you want to kind of make it like cute, like we're not really trying, or do you want to like kind of go like act like we're so nerdy that we want to get all into it? And I was like, I feel like there's something about them being nerdy about it and them already being nerds that makes so much sense. They would have harmonies. Of course, they would be doing stuff with each other that like they probably have practiced a million times. And so like once he was like, let's go all in, I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I think that was the moment when I knew that it was going to be something really special. I think just reading it though, I would have never guessed.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's hard to guess, but that's kind of become a thing in Stranger Things too. These big musical moments. Obviously, in season four, we had "Running Up That Hill" with Sadie Sink and Max. That became a huge thing. So I'm sure it's been kind of crazy too for these artists that released these singles back in the 80s to now, come to 2020 or 2016, 17 and have them blow up on the charts again after not being on the charts for so many years.
Yes. Yes, and I love that because it's such a perfect part about this show is that it almost like revitalizes and revives so much that was so brilliant back when it happened, but also is just so brilliant no matter when. Um, Even just getting the feel of it or hearing certain music, I feel like they've done such a wonderful job throughout the seasons, especially last season with Sadie and Running Up That Hill. Like I love that such iconic songs that should have charted all the way up until now are charting again now
Yeah.
after all this time.
Yeah, no, definitely appreciate that as a music lover. And I think for that moment too, it was it was something that was so random. You weren't expecting to have, I guess, that song in that moment because it's kind of we got to get this done or the end of the world's going to happen. And then the fact that up to that point, everyone kind of was starting to wonder if maybe Dustin had made Susie up to that point. And so we finally get the reveal that you actually are real. So I think all that combination, just cutting to the different characters like Hopper when he hears you guys singing and just kind of like, oh my God, is this really happening right now?
Yeah. Yeah. And when we were filming it, it was much more like I didn't know how much they were going to be cutting to see. They kind of get everybody who's a part of that whole operation and that whole main moment to like be a part of hearing that, which makes sense in context, but I
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily given context like everyone else who was there at that first moment when I was first there. Um,
Yeah, you're
and
just doing your
so
thing.
seeing the cut afterwards, I was like, oh my gosh, like what are they in the middle of? This is horrifying. Like, but I think that that kind of helped that they didn't say like there's actually serious stakes going on because then we were just doing whatever we wanted, and I think that added so much to to all of it. I really was kind of in Susie's position there.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so when Susie is not, because it seems like every time that we see her on screen, it ends up being something where she's helping save the world. So I don't know if this is something that you kind of thought about, Gabriella, is outside of when she's not saving the world, what does her kind of everyday life look like, do you think, like in your mind?
Ugh. Um, I think that she stays actually very separate from her siblings. Um, I think that she's very independent, and just like when we see her like fixing all of her things, reading her books, she's definitely got her own agendas. And I think for a good amount of time, that was kind of figuring out stuff with Dustin, and kind of keeping that a secret. Um, she's just a girl who has a lot of her own plans. She's definitely all around her town. She's definitely all around Utah. And I think that the kind of odd nature and all the wild, wacky stuff that's happening at her house with all of her siblings definitely rests on the shoulders of other siblings, especially her older sister. And she's just not really that big of a part of any of it.
I'm sure there's never a dull day in that house after what we got to
No,
see in season four.
definitely not. Definitely not. I think that if there weren't so many siblings, a lot of the operation in season four would have never been able to happen.
Yeah.
She would have had her dad right there, totally onto her. So
Yeah, but it's just so chaotic, which we love. And obviously, we as the fans, we love Dustin. But why do you think it is that Susie ended up falling for him?
that's a really good question. I don't know if anyone's ever asked that. I think that
Love that.
yeah, I think that a lot of it, I mean, what's not to love about Dustin? Not even just
Agreed.
Gaten. Dustin as a character, Dustin as a person, if he were a real living person in the 80s, I feel like there would be so many adorable people like Susie who would be so head over heels for him.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I think that part of what really probably got her really liking Dustin was I think she likes things that um and I think it's kind of because she's the same way. I think you kind of see throughout like the whole never-ending story moment and a little bit more when you learn about her in season four. She does a lot of things that she wouldn't let on to. Like she doesn't usually talk about singing.
Yeah.
She doesn't talk about, having Dustin as her boyfriend. And she lives like a lot of separate lives. And I think that when he was being himself and he was into so many different things and he wasn't afraid to kind of have that be at the forefront of everything for him, she was probably like, oh my gosh, oh, this is someone else who gets it. Of course, you're here at this science camp, but I think she needs more than that. I think she loves people who are invested in so many things, and he obviously so is. He has so much love for so many things, including his friends.
So,
So I think that was also kind of a part of it, is that he had a sort of understanding of a lot of care for people around him. And I think coming from a large family and from a large town of caring for people, she probably was also like, oh my gosh, wait, no, me too.
You get me. Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
I totally agree. And living that double life, secret agent Susie.
Yes, yes. And there was such a long time after season three where people were like, is she literally a secret agent?
Yeah.
And there were so many fan theories, and I was like, I mean, whatever it ends up being, which it wasn't that, but whatever it ends up being, she's definitely got a lot going on, and that's just a part of the how they wrote it.
I'm glad that wasn't the case too, because that would have been so heartbreaking to have that happen to Dustin,
Yes.
to end up her being this secret agent spy or something crazy like that. So I'm glad it was just, you guys are just boyfriend and girlfriend, and it was just that.
Yeah. After the end of season two for Dustin at the dance, I was like, you can't have anybody else break this kid's heart. Come on. There's no
Yeah,
way.
agreed.
It just would not be fair.
And another question for you, Gabrielle. I don't know if, again, if this is something that you've kind of thought about, but how do you think that Susie would react to experiencing the upside down? Because we never got to see that in the series as well.
Oh, I think. I think that honestly, she would be terrified at first, but she tends to be the type of person who does surprisingly well under pressure.
Yeah,
Like, I feel like she'd immediately start to try to figure something out. It probably wouldn't be like a fight response. It probably would be strategic, and have to do with trying to find a way out before she even had to deal with anything.
yeah,
I think that's what she would do first. I think afterwards she'd be like, "Well, what was that?" And I think there's like a lot that she actually probably has not up until this point been told about.
yeah.
Um, maybe bits and pieces, but it is very until you get to that point yourself. So I think that's probably where she'd be at. She'd still be trying to wrap her head around a lot of it for a while.
I think she would have been very helpful to have in some of this. I mean, obviously we did have her in some very key situations, but to have her in other situations and just, I'm sure she would come up with some pretty creative ideas to get around things. So I would have loved to have seen that in the series. And looking at, you mentioned that you're a fan of the series yourself. So watching the episodes, was there any other episodes or any other specific moments in the series that looking back that you would have loved Susie to have been a part of?
Oof. I think that sometimes what I love most about the show is seeing the kids down in the basement playing Dungeons and Dragons when they're really, really young. And I feel like we know that Susie is such a sciencey person and loves like a lot of the same stuff that Dustin does. And I have a feeling that they definitely would start their own campaign.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
and I feel like if we got to see her playing D&D with Dustin or with any of the other people in the show, I feel like that's something that's at this point so small scale because there's so many other things to focus on. But even just for a moment, if there was a moment where they could relax and they weren't worried about things destroying it, that would be a great moment to get to see.
I would love to see that. And when do you specifically realize the moment, the level of impact that your character had on the fans?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was probably only a few days after I was with my friends. I was in high school at the time. I was genuinely the same age that Susie was the entire time that I played her. And I was in school and uh it was summertime, so I had some school friends over and everywhere that they were on had the NeverEnding Story, the song of it. And I had always grown up watching like the original movie, The NeverEnding Story. And my parents both loved it, so my family was super into it. And hearing that song that I had heard so many times in another context with two other voices, in a different show, in a different film entirely, and then having it be me and Gaten, I think that's kind of when I was like, my gosh, this is like kind of really, even though it was a small moment, it kind of took off for
Yeah.
the whole end of that season.
Yeah, and I mean, I know you've been asked to sing this song a number of times at conventions and different moments over the years. What's the craziest place that you've been asked to sing the song NeverEnding Story?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's also so funny because I feel like everyone asks, can you sing it? But nobody asks, well, what's the craziest place?
Because I'm
Um,
sure you get some random ones where it's just you might be just out somewhere and someone's like, "Hey, can you
yes.
sing the song?"
Yes. That does happen. I would say it's even more probably fun when I'm out somewhere but just hanging out with Gaten. Um, Whenever I get to see him, it's usually people immediately recognize him and then oh my gosh, wait, okay, so you two are both hanging out together. And then I think like sometimes when we're just like on the streets in New York and that happens, I can tell that that's probably the wildest. But for me personally, just by myself, say like at a bus stop, that's happened a few times. Yeah.
Wow.
Um, and I'm kind of like, yeah, of course, but
Do you ever get tired of it?
also, also we are the bus is kind of like right here,
Yeah.
like wherever you're going. Like I'm not really sure, but like I
Yeah,
can
there's a
feel
time and a
a little
place.
bit. Yeah, no, but I will say it's never something that I get tired of. I I feel like it probably would be something I would get tired of by now if I were going to,
Yeah, that's
and I
true.
haven't. Um, I think like every single time that something like that happens, it just makes me so excited that people love the show and love what so many people contributed, but like also something that I got to be a part of. So it just makes me kind of excited every time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not every day, not everyone gets to have a moment, a character like that that leaves such an impact on people the way that Susie has. And I'm sure it's something that's going to be with you the rest of your life too. You'll probably get people asking you that, years down the line, even after the show's been done. Hey, aren't you Susie from Stranger Things?
Yeah, I still get it now, and I feel like I look different, like without the glasses, maybe without some of the hair stuff, but like I feel like it's definitely something that, especially for a lot of the people, especially the young people in this cast, like it will follow them for a very long time,
Yeah.
and I think that's a really great thing in a lot of ways. I think that a lot of the people who have been a part of this show have like contributed a decade of their work,
Yeah.
and it's a show that's definitely run way longer than I think that a lot of people originally envisioned, like with one season, like
Yep.
filming in really like close space with a very small cast. I think that the way that it took off and blew up really is special.
Yeah, no, I remember when it came out. I remember seeing the poster initially, didn't even see the trailer or anything, and the poster art caught my eye. I was like, "Ooh, this looks interesting." Then I saw the trailer and was like, "Oh, this is something I'm going to check out." But at the time, it was an unknown show. No one knew what it was. So I was like, "Oh, well, I'm probably going to watch this." Some of my friends maybe will have a little discussion about it. By the end of that first week, though, it was everywhere all over my social media. Everybody was talking about it. But I thought it was gonna maybe just be one season two because it kind of was closed off. There was a few loose ends at the end of it there, but I thought it was
Right.
maybe gonna be one season, and who knows, it's gonna turn into this juggernaut of a show that would go on for 10 years.
Right, right. And I feel like there's so many shows that are so similar to the vibe of Stranger Things that you see them and they're these like independent classics and they're very short-lived.
Yeah,
And you know, anyone who's a real fan of those shows are like, oh, it's such a shame. But like the fact that so many people allowed this one to be the thing that really shaped a lot of stuff for all of the years that it's been in production is really, really cool. And I didn't have a phone at that point in time, but I remember when the first season came out after I had finished watching it, and I was doing a Broadway show at the time, and I was a kid, and I was like 11 years old, and all my other friends like Gaten and all these other Broadway kids who had done theater with me and around me were a part of it. So I had like all my adult friends like looking up stuff and they were like, it's all over Twitter. Like this is all I'm seeing is like stuff about Gaten, stuff about Shannon who plays Barb, like stuff about so and so. Like
Must have been
it
so
was
weird.
being monumental, and I wasn't even really consciously a part of it at that point.
Yeah. And as a fan of the show too, for you, Gabriella, outside of Susie and Dustin, who has been your favorite character on the series to kind of see their arc play out over these 5 seasons, well, 4 seasons up to this point?
That is a really good question. I think for me, I love Robin, and
Robin's awesome.
I love Max. Getting
Max is
to
one of my
see
favorites too.
how, especially because Sadie came into the show, initial season one, everything extravaganza was happening. Um, Seeing how like some of the characters who came in later on really ended up shaping the way that they ended up being able to take the story, I think is really cool. And it never felt like it was in a way that took over what other people who had initially been at the forefront of the story were always there for. It never felt like they were now being pushed somewhere else. It felt like a very cohesive narrative that like everyone had
Yeah.
thought like this would have been something they thought about from the beginning. Um, I think more and more seeing where everything has ended up um, in later seasons and with everything, I think I am learning more and more that they had so many plans from the beginning, um, that I had thought maybe they'd take a break, figure it out, and then keep going and build momentum. But there were a lot of very small details, and very specific things that were just always there. And that's something that I think I would have never known about. And I would have assumed that they probably just added in. But they
Yeah.
didn't.
This is one of those shows too that top of my head, it's just one of those series where almost every single character that's involved has kind of become a fan favorite, and I feel like you just don't see that all the time. It just every single character from like top to bottom, it's like, oh yeah, like they all kind of have their special moments in the series, and so it doesn't come along too often.
Yeah, I think that it's really special, first of all, the way they're able to write that and make sure that all of their characters have something going on and something that is relevant enough to the story to be a part of the story. But I think also just the way that everyone who's a fan of the show has care and love for the show, that they're willing to kind of make these fan favorites. Um, in the sense that like everyone who has been a part of it, I feel like has a very dedicated group of people that really love their work and everything that they do, as well as everything they do on Stranger Things. Like, and I think that that's a testament to, yes, definitely writers, but also just the group of people that love the show the most and watch it the most.
Agreed. And how have the fans over the years continued to surprise you, Gabriella, just their passion for the series? Because I'm obviously, you've seen fans out in the wild and want you to sing the song, but how they continue to I'm sure you've seen a lot of cosplays probably for Susie over the years.
I will say, I think that the art is something that I will always love the most. Just the artistry, um, within, and specifically Stranger Things. I feel like something that I love is that Stranger Things is the type of show where you can have three or four different generations of people that all really love the show and very specific aspects of the show. I remember like showing it to my grandparents, and they loved it because they were like, "Oh my gosh, this was when like my parents were younger and they were being raised." And I think that there's a lot of that I see when people dress up or when people make art. Um, Having to do with the show, I think that I've seen a lot of like family group
Yeah.
cosplay and family designs. I just feel like it brings people together in a way that's multi-generational. And I like when there's a show that can pull people and specifically people who you're close to together.
Yeah.
Um, because I definitely know what it feels like to be like have my version of that. And I guess partly like at the beginning, Stranger Things was that for my family and I think for a lot of other people. So I think the cool thing is like seeing all of the different groups of people and also like seeing kids with their parents, kids with their grandparents, like everyone loving this show so much, like equally. They all
Yeah,
love
it's so cool. I've gotten to see the families cosplay at the different conventions that I've gone to with just all the different characters, which is so much fun. Just to wrap things up for you, Gabriella, as far as what are you just gonna miss most about your time working on the series?
I think I'm going to miss how much everyone makes the most of every second that they're there. I think there's a lot of different film sets and entertainment workplaces where uh, you go in and after a while, there's many days where people feel like exhausted or there's a lot of other things going on. I feel like all of the people genuinely leave when they come into work, and it is a group of people that I feel like really have helped to raise a lot of these kids and have seen a lot of the adults through a lot of different moments in their lives. And I think that having a workplace that is like that is really, really rare.
Yeah.
And I will say I'll miss the people, but all of those people were in the same place.
Fingers crossed, hopefully down the road, maybe we'll have something else, Stranger Things come along, some kind of reunion, or I'm sure we'll get to maybe see you guys all get to work together again in the future. Is there anything else for you two, Gabriella, that's coming down the line? Any projects, and where can people just stay up to date with you moving forward?
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff going on. Instagram, I it's just my name, Gabriella Pizzolo. And I'm on TikTok too. So I kind of talk a lot about a lot of it there.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm so excited for people to see a lot of how this show wraps up though. It's really, really something that blew my mind.
Well, Gabriella, it's been such an honor getting to talk to you about the series. Thank you so much for your time today. I can't wait to see what next for you, and you're welcome back anytime in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was awesome. Hi, I'm Gabriella Pizzolo. I play Susie on Stranger Things, and you're watching Pop Culture with Pat. Yeah.